Hi, this is Matt Baker. I'm back after a long recovery from surgery and will once again be posting new videos every second Friday. Since we've just finished yet another year, it's time to once again take a look at some of the amazing fan-made charts posted over on our subreddit r/useful charts. This year, there was so much great content that I actually did an initial review back in July, covering the first 6 months of 2024. So in this video, I'm going to start by focusing on the second half of the year. Like last time, I'm going to show you 5 of my personal favorites, but then I'm also going to go through the 5 posts that received the most upvotes, according to Reddit. However, we're not going to stop there. This year, I decided to ask our 2 moderators to choose some of their favorites. So we'll be going through those as well. Finally, for the 3rd year in a row, we're going to have a poster contest in which 2 charts will be chosen to be printed and made available for sale at usefulcharts.com, with the profits being shared with the creators. So let's get to it. Okay, so as a reminder, the 5 charts I chose from the first half of 2024 were as follows: History of Early Christian Texts, Evolution and Classification of European Languages, Timeline of U.S. Supreme Court Justices, Timeline of COVID Variants, and Transit Diagram of Northern European History. So keep in mind that the 5 I'm going to show you right now, in no particular order, were all from the second half of 2024. First up is this Roman Empire surface area chart, which I really liked because it provides a nice snapshot of the entire history of the Roman Empire. The horizontal axis represents time, the vertical axis represents how much territory Rome controlled, and the various colors represent the different dynasties that held the emperorship. So if we follow the line, we see that Rome started to grow when it was a republic, and in fact, half of its ultimate territory was gained prior to there being an emperor. The meteoric rise continues with the Julio-Claudians, but Rome's absolute peak of power actually occurs after them, right here during the reign of Trajan. After that, it's basically all downhill. You can quite clearly see the crisis of the 3rd century here, when the empire almost fell apart, but then was brought back together again. And then the actual fall of the Western Empire here. But also quite obvious is the Justinian Restoration, the brief success of Heraclius, followed by the losses to the Islamic armies, the Macedonian Renaissance, especially under Basil II, and the final dwindlings after that, culminating in the 1453 conquest of Constantinople by the Ottomans. So yeah, pretty cool. Next up is this huge world religions founders family tree. So this is quite different from my world religions family tree, which focuses on the religions themselves. This one focuses on the individuals from each religion. So the founders, prophets, and leaders, and in some cases, even gods and angels. Now, since I've covered a lot about the Abrahamic religions on this channel, let me show you the non-Abrahamic parts of this chart instead. So here we have a section on Iranian religion, with the Zoroastrian god Ahura Mazda at the top, along with his evil counterpart, Angra Mainyu. But there's also several lesser spiritual beings shown, such as the other Izatas and the Amesha Spentas, which emanate from Ahura Mazda. Also shown are the first humans, from whom came the mythological first Shahs of Iran, and then supposedly Zoroaster himself, and the historical Achaemenid emperors. Also shown on the chart are the main Hindu gods, and how they connect to the lunar and solar dynasties, as well as the main Chinese gods, and how they connect to the various dynasties of China. So yeah, the comprehensiveness is astounding. Now before I move on, I should mention that if you want to get a closer look at any of these charts, all you have to do is go to reddit/r/usefulcharts and then search for the chart you want by title. Okay, up next is this Italian royal family tree, made by the same person who won 2nd place in the poster contest last year for his German royal family tree. It covers a lot of the same ground as my own European Royal Family Tree West chart, but includes many additional Italian dynasties, such as the Medicis, the Sforzas, and the Grimaldis, who still rule today in Monaco. But I think what stands out the most about this chart, which is also true of the German one, is that it is virtually indistinguishable from the official useful charts. So kudos to this creator for nailing my style so well. Now, as you probably noticed, I'm particularly drawn to charts about religion because, well, that's one of my primary interests. Therefore, this family tree of Mormon denominations really stood out to me. I wasn't able to get this detailed on my own chart, so I really appreciated that someone made this. You see, most people are only familiar with the main Mormon church, officially known as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But there are actually hundreds of different Mormon denominations out there, all claiming to be the one true church. The splintering started in 1844, which is when the movement's founder, Joseph Smith, was assassinated. He was only 38, so hadn't named a successor. The two main candidates were Sidney Rigdon, who had been Smith's most senior advisor, and Brigham Young, who at the time was the current president of the Quorum of 12 Apostles. Most members sided with Brigham Young, who then moved the group to Utah, which is where the main Mormon church is located today. However, a minority joined Sidney Rigdon, who relocated to Pennsylvania and called his group the Church of Jesus Christ of the Children of Zion. However, that group only lasted a few years, and Rigdon eventually abandoned it, living out the rest of his life as a non-Mormon. Those remaining regrouped under the leadership of a recent convert named William Bickerton, changing the name to the Church of Jesus Christ. That group remains active to this day and is currently the third largest Mormon denomination. Backing up a bit, though, there was actually a third contender to succeed Joseph Smith, alongside Brigham Young and Sidney Rigdon, a man named Joseph Strang. Strang had become a Mormon just a few months before Joseph Smith died, but he claimed to possess a letter from Smith appointing himself as Smith's successor. Although that seemed fishy, he was quite charismatic, and therefore some Mormons did follow him, eventually settling on Beaver Island in Lake Michigan. In fact, Strang declared that island to be an independent kingdom, with himself as king. However, his reign was short-lived, as he was assassinated 6 years later. Now, when Joseph Smith died, his oldest son, Joseph III, was only 11. But by the time Strang died, Joseph III was now 23. Therefore, at this point, most of the non-Utah Mormons wanted Joseph III to become leader, which he eventually did, forming the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or RLDS. That church exists to this day and is currently the second largest denomination, although in 2001 they changed their name to the Community of Christ. Now, obviously, there are a lot of other groups on this chart that I don't have time to go through, but if people are interested, maybe I'll do a full video on the topic in the future. Okay, my final pick was posted just 2 weeks ago, but is so impressive that I just had to include it. It's this classical antiquity family trees. Like the Italian royal family tree, it nails my style and looks like something produced officially by Useful Charts. In fact, at first glance, you might confuse it with my ancient history family trees, but at closer inspection, you'll notice a major difference. This one starts later, in the 800s BCE, and is thus able to extend further, up until around 400 CE. This is important because it means that several interesting dynasties are included at the end, such as the Guptas in India, the Sassanids in Persia, and the Aksumites in Ethiopia, none of which are covered on any of our official charts. Okay, so those are my 10 favorites from the year 2024. Let me now show you the top 5 posts for the second half of the year as determined by the number of upvotes received. In this case, I'll count down from 5 to 1. Coming in at number 5 is this chart of US President ages, inspired, I'm sure, by Jimmy Carter's 100th birthday. It shows the age when the presidency began to the age when it ended. So you can see that prior to Reagan, there were virtually no presidents in their 70s. and Biden really stands out, being the first to serve during his 80s. The youngest was actually Teddy Roosevelt, not JFK, as many people assume. At number 4 is this massive chart of the House of Capet, in my opinion, the greatest royal dynasty of all time. I originally chose this as one of my own top picks, but because it ended up in this section, I didn't have to. The amazing thing about the Capetians is the number of branches that ended up surviving a long time, reigning not only in France, but in many other countries as well. I particularly like this little overview here, which shows all the branches using coats of arms. Number 3 is a fun one. It's a list of the chief mousers of the British government, a role that supposedly goes back to the reign of Henry VIII, but has only been documented since 1929, which is when the chief mouser at 10 Downing Street started to get an official salary from the government, starting at 1 pence per day. The current chief mouser is 17-year-old Larry, a former stray cat, initially adopted for David Cameron's children. Okay, number 2 also relates to Great Britain. It's this massive family tree of British monarchs. Now, in order to demonstrate to you how far back this thing goes, let me point out to you that William the Conqueror shows up here, and this right here is Julius Caesar. So obviously much of this chart is guesswork, because in reality there is no provable connection between any modern European royal and any figure from ancient times. But there are, of course, lots of legends, and most of the top part of this chart maps these out. For example, all of these light orange squares represent legendary kings of Ireland, and near the top is the legendary first king of Britain, Brutus, who supposedly came to the island from Troy. All right, so the number 1 post during the second half of 2024, according to upvotes, was every president's favorite president, based on this video by Mr. Beat. So for example, Trump's favorite president is Andrew Jackson, whose favorite president was Thomas Jefferson, whose favorite president was George Washington. Whereas Biden's favorite president is FDR, whose favorite president was Teddy Roosevelt, whose favorite president was Lincoln, whose favorite president was Washington. So all roads lead back to Washington eventually. Okay, like I said at the beginning, we are not going to stop there. This year, I also asked the subreddit's moderators to choose their favorites. So I'm now going to show you 10 more charts in no particular order that were chosen by them. All of them relate to royal family trees, as that's what this channel used to focus a lot on and is what most of the posts on our subreddit still do. First up is this Monarchs of and in Spain chart, which stands out for 2 reasons. First is the unique style, which is different from the standard useful charts look, yet very aesthetically pleasing. Second, it combines both Muslim rulers and Catholic rulers on one chart, which is rare. Most charts about Iberia, such as this one, focus exclusively on the Christian rulers, although this one is also extremely well done. Staying on the topic of Spain is this chart of Carlist pretenders, a topic I've never covered on the channel, but has been requested several times. Basically, in 1833, the Spanish throne passed to a female, Isabella II, who was married to her cousin, a male-only member of the dynasty, but not the most senior male-only member. The most senior male line member was Carlos, the Count of Molina. So there were some Spaniards called Carlists who thought he should be king. This created an alternate line of succession, which lasted until the male Carlist line died out in 1936. After this, some Carlists supported the main line, some supported a new female line, and others switched their support to the next most senior male-only line, which is that of the Bourbon Parmas. Another topic that I've never covered on the channel is the monarchy of Malaysia, which is complex because it actually rotates between 9 different monarchies, 7 of which are sultanates. This chart by last year's poster contest winner nicely lays out the family trees of the 7 sultanates. Basically, every 5 years, the 7 sultans, together with the other 2 monarchs, get together and choose one of their own to serve as monarch of Malaysia for the next 5 years. Up until January 2024, that person was Sultan Abdullah of Pahang, And currently, it's the previous monarch's brother-in-law, Sultan Ibrahim of Johor. Next up is this rather large chart showing the descendants of Johann Wilhelm Friso, known as the royal ancestor of Europe because virtually every current monarch, as well as most of the defunct ones, can trace their line back to him. So not only do we have King Charles III, but also the head of the House of Hanover and the primary claimant to the throne of Russia. Moving along, we also have this chart on the nobility of the Netherlands. Not the modern kingdom of the Netherlands, but rather the medieval region known as the Low Countries. It shows how 9 different realms all eventually became inherited by just one person, a woman aptly named Mary the Rich. This ended up having a big impact on early modern history because she married Holy Roman Emperor Maximilian, and their son married the heir of both Aragon and Castile, resulting in this man, Charles V, ruling most of Europe. This, by the way, was also posted on the subreddit this year, and I think was meant to mostly be humorous due to just how many titles this one guy held. If one were to actually list them on a chart, you wouldn't have room for anything else. Next is this nice looking chart of Napoleon and his marshals. So not only is this a family tree of the Bonapartes, it also shows all of Napoleon's highest ranking generals, one of whom married Napoleon's sister, and another who ended up becoming King of Sweden. This particular creator has submitted several really nice looking charts over the last 6 months, including these two, which match the useful chart style quite well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they have planned for 2025. Now here's something that's quite different, which I always appreciate because although I like it when people are able to copy my own style really well, I also like it when people develop their own unique styles, especially when they look as good as this one. This is actually a personal tree with the creator's own family shown at the bottom. But since he was able to trace his line back to nobility, the top part of the chart includes lots of royal family trees. Had it not been for the personal nature of the tree at the bottom, this chart would likely have been a top contender in this year's poster contest. Next up is this Greek mythology family tree, which is far more detailed than my own. Not only does it include several extra gods, such as Phobos, the god of fear, Himeros, the god of desire, and Melino, the goddess of ghosts. It also includes far more demigods and human descendants of the gods. For example, I couldn't help but notice this guy, Aristeus, who is labeled as the god of useful charts. Wait, I mean the god of useful arts. Close enough. This last one is really huge. It's a family tree of the Mongolian Empire and all of its successor states. And it goes almost all the way up to today. So, for example, this man here was the prime minister of a short-lived Kazakh state after the Russian Revolution, known as the Alash Autonomy. But he was also, quite likely, a direct male line descendant of Genghis Khan. He was the great-great-great-grandson of Barak Sultan, who in turn descended from the Khans of the Kazakh Khanate. They trace their roots back to Uruz Khan of the White Horde, who was a descendant of Joki Khan, the founder of the Golden Horde, and the firstborn son of Genghis Khan, although there's some uncertainty about that. All right, it's now time to discuss the annual poster contest. This year, I'm going to do something a bit different. I've chosen 5 finalists, but I'm going to let you, the viewers, choose the actual winners by means of a vote. To vote, just go to the Community tab here on the Useful Charts channel. The 2 charts that get the most votes within the next 3 days will be the ones printed and sold in our store. Okay, so the finalists are, in alphabetic order, Christian Communion's updated version by X Vinchox, Classical Antiquities Family Trees by Abbreviations Do, Evolution and Classification of Languages by A Triplet, and Genealogies of Selected Combatants in the Trojan War by Guest 53. So there you have it. This is the end of the video, so please head over to the Community tab right now and get your vote in. The winners will be announced after 3 days. Thanks for watching.